But Jonathan, I want to start with you. Let's just talk for a few minutes, if you would, about the details of this surprising success. I think no one was probably more surprised than the people who ended up calling in that strike. So tell us about it.
Yeah, I would call it good evening from Israel. It's good evening to you. It's around noontime. I would call it, I've said in the past, on record and off record, that Yahya Sinwar has to be lucky every time in order to evade his faith in what eventually awaits him, and to be successful in not getting killed by Israel. And Israel only needs to get lucky once. And I think that Israel got really lucky this time. As far as I know, based on IDF information, there was no advanced intel, no IDF special forces were there in order to take him out. This was a quote-unquote regular skirmish or encounter between infantry squad commanders' corps and a tank, also from tank commanders' training, who were conducting standard patrolling and operations in southern Gaza, in Rafah. By the way, the same Rafah that Israel was told so many times it shouldn't go into, that there's no benefit in going into, and that it should refrain from entering for many months by its allies and by many other countries around the world. And eventually, as you said correctly, there was enemy activity spotted. A tank fired, I think, 1 or 2 rounds. And then when the troops went in, first they sent the drone in to check the environments out of precautions, because they assumed that the house was booby-trapped. They saw that there were still live terrorists in there, ordered another strike, then went in to search and clear and identify. And the grunts, the guys, the fighters who went in, saw someone who looked very similar to Yahya Sinwar. And from there, the process got sped up quite quickly. I think that the dental records held by Israeli prison services and police were very important in establishing confirmation very quickly, and then the rest of the DNA tests were made. It took longer time than what I anticipated, but I suppose Israeli authorities wanted to be 100% sure that they had indeed got Yahya Sinwar. And it's interesting to see, because contrary to how tremendously successful Israel has been in taking out Yahya Ayash, the military mastermind of Hamas, many months ago, of course, Hassan Nasrallah and Fuad Shukr in Hezbollah in Lebanon, Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, and many other terrorist leaders, whether it's in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Syria, or in Iran. This time, that wasn't the case, and Israel was indeed fortunate. And we are of course very happy that it turned out just like that. Regarding hostages, there's the location. I think this is important. The location where Yahya Sinwar was eventually killed is only hundreds of yards, if at all, perhaps even less than that, than the location where the last 6 Israeli hostages were executed by Hamas captors some month and a half ago, including Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Polin and 5 other Israelis. And there's believed to be a strong link between those 6 and the whereabouts of Yahya Sinwar that's being investigated, but I hear lots of talk about it within the IDF. And another point that I think is important is what this means now when we go forward and when we look. When I scan the horizon of Hamas's leadership, and I look at, okay, who is next in line in succession, who has political, military power and clout and standing, it's Yahya Sinwar's brother, Muhammad, and then it's 2 brigade commanders, the Gaza Rafah brigade commander and the Gaza City brigade commander. They are the 2 most senior Hamas operatives still alive, and they are way down, many levels down the food chain from where Yahya Sinwar was, because the rest of Hamas's leadership has been mostly eliminated by Israel. So there's a challenge for Hamas now, and I think that this poses a lot of opportunities for Israel, but most importantly for Palestinians, for those who want to seize opportunity and get free of Hamas's rule and oppression of Gaza and perhaps turn the page on a better future for Gaza. Today is a beautiful day of opportunity. And if they take it, then they will charter a totally different path for themselves. And I think Israel will be ready to do that. But that, of course, will be something that other Hamas I would say, rank and file bureaucrats and police won't do easily, and they won't let go of control. But there's definitely the opportunity here for something big to happen. Last word, this, of course, is a great moment. It's a bad moment for Iran. It's a bad moment for terrorists worldwide. It shows terrorists worldwide that you can attack Israel. You can deliver a very, very hurtful gut punch to Israel and get Israel reeling on its knees. But Israel rose up, stood strong, fought back, and eventually defeated Hamas and killed the person who almost single-handedly was behind it. And that sends a very important message, I think, to terrorists worldwide and to the entire Iranian axis of evil that they spend so many billions of dollars building around us.
I do want to talk to you about the wider war, because I think we see this all the time, right? When the Israelis took out Nasrallah, people were, I'll use an American football term, they're spiking the football in the end zone. They're doing dances, they're cheering, right? This, I think we're seeing a lot of the same. And in fact, in Israel, they're passing out sweets and celebrating on the streets of Tel Aviv. But it's early, right? This is not the moment to celebrate. This was a tactical, even a mistaken tactical win, right? The Israelis fell backward into the success that they're celebrating right now. I will, by the way, also cede that years of preparation on the part of the soldiers and months of fighting on the part of the IDF led to a success like this. So I don't want to pretend that Israel didn't earn this. They absolutely did earn this victory, but it's not a long-term victory, right? This is a victory that lasts for today. There's still a lot of fighting in Lebanon. There's still a lot of rocket fire coming into Israel from Lebanon. There's still some fighting that we're going to see in Gaza, even with Sinwar gone. You still are taking incoming from Yemen, from Iraq, from Syria, and then there is the larger battle that looms with Iran. Does this change any of that in your estimation? Do you think it maybe opens things up a little bit does it make it more urgent for the Iranian axis to think about ceasefire talks? Or do you think it's just steady as she goes as far as their war strategy is concerned?
Yeah, what I would say is, I'd use a hockey term, and I think that the other teams, they have maybe one or two players in the penalty booth, and Israel now has power play, and now is the time for Israel to really floor it and defeat our enemies. That's how I read the situation now, both specifically in terms of Hamas, more so, and also in terms of Hezbollah. I've had lots of questions about, is this the end of the war? Can we now go back to live? Will Israel now stop fighting from international media? And I've said, well, of course not. There's still, if you spent the day in northern Israel, it's still a war zone. 70,000 Israelis, more than that, are evacuated from their homes. Northern Israel is it's a ghost area, and Israeli troops for division combat teams are in combat in southern Lebanon, clearing out the Hezbollah and Radwan forces infrastructure. And as you said, there's still significant unfinished business with Iran, and really that is where our focus should be. I think that this is a good step forward. Time to be happy about the day's fortune and achievements. Time to be thankful of the troops that we have doing the horrible and dangerous work that it is to fight in densely populated urban terrain in Gaza, and be thankful for their battlefield success, and to look forward to try to seize the opportunity against Hamas and turn this tactical fortune into a strategic victory against that organization, and turn the page on what's going on in Gaza. But bigger regionally speaking, yeah, it's not a good day for Iran, because another one of their proxies is taking a severe hit. But I think that the biggest events are still ahead of us. And I hope that the Israeli decision makers are totally going to distinguish and differentiate between the local events in Gaza and the business that Israel has with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Nuclear weapons and a global network of terrorist organizations is, of course, much, much bigger than any leader of Hamas ever was. So when I look forward, I think that this will, the first outcome will be that hopefully it will allow Israel to focus more resources on the other battle fronts that it is facing. intel, political and diplomatic, and of course military, and that Israel will perhaps be strengthened or emboldened by its supporters, and also that its enemies will be weakened by Israel's battlefield success, and that Israel will have the ability to do more against its enemies. I don't think that we will see Israel going on reckless military escapades into Lebanon or doing things that are beyond its capacities in Iran. But I do think that now is an opportunity for Israel to continue with what over the last month has been very positive momentum against the Iranian axis of violence against it. And to summarize, I think that ground troops in southern Lebanon have had very good combat success, of course, at a heavy price, and there's going to be there were announcements of Israeli soldiers, sadly, that were killed today in combat in southern Lebanon. But every day that goes by, Israel is peeling away at Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon and bringing the day that Israeli civilians can return to their homes. They're bringing that day closer to reality. We're not there yet, but really it all matters around Iran. And I think that there's an opportunity here to combine between turning the page and a new situation in Gaza, where there can be regional buy-in under American leadership, and really changing the strategic situation in the Middle East by helping Israel against Iran. And that is also US and regional powers who can have a very positive and influential role there. So all in all, I would say this is a good positive day. But like anything in the Middle East, as one famous New York Times columnist usually says, it's the morning after that really matters. I'm, of course, quoting Thomas Friedman. And it's really the morning after that counts. And that is when you know if you have a real solid achievement in your hands, or if this was just, as you called it, something that's great and happy for a while, but not really of strategic significance.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Djobnik signing off.